the 1st of September, 1939. The German army bursts across the Polish frontier in a synchronized attack of tanks, Stuka dive bombers, and infantry slicing through border defenses with such speed that the Poles are astonished. Roads clog with refugees, railway stations burn, and within 2 weeks, German spearheads push toward the Vistula River, proof that the war machine moves with chilling precision. The drive succeeds because an intelligence network has already charted every rail yard, fuel dump, and mobilization plan, handing Berlin a near-perfect map of Polish strength. The admiral who directs this intelligence network is still helping Germans, but soon he will turn against their brutality and support anti-Nazi resistance. His name is Wilhelm Canaris. Wilhelm Franz Canaris was born on the 1st of January 1887 in German Abwehr, today a borough of the city of Dortmund. He was the youngest of 4 children in a prosperous industrial family. A large villa with gardens, stables, and a tennis court surrounded his childhood. English governesses sharpened his language skills, and a carriage took him to the Steinbart Gymnasium in Duisburg. Shy and small, yet diligent, he fascinated others by experimenting with invisible ink and adopting false names. His father Karl, a technical director of an ironworks, hoped Wilhelm would become a cavalry officer and even bought him a horse for his 15th birthday. But the boy dreamed of the sea, inspired by tales of the Greek naval hero Konstantinos Canaris, whose surname he shared. When Karl died suddenly of a stroke in 1904, the 17-year-old Wilhelm applied to the German Imperial Navy. He passed the entrance tests and, on the 1st of April 1905, reported as a cadet aboard the training cruiser Stein. Service suited him. He learned Spanish first, then English, French, and some Russian. He listened more than he spoke and impressed superiors with an uncanny memory. Posted to the cruiser Bremen, he helped set up a network of informants in South America, his first taste of intelligence work. In late 1913, he joined the light cruiser Dresden, whose patrols off the turbulent shores of Mexico showed his talent for diplomacy. The young officer ferried stranded Germans and foreign citizens from Mexico, which was experiencing a civil war at that time, to safety, and later even escorted the defeated Mexican president Victoriano Huerta to exile. When the First World War erupted in the summer of 1914, the Dresden hunted Allied merchant ships in the South Atlantic, slipped into the Pacific, and fought beside Vice Admiral von Spee's ships. After disastrous battles off the Falklands in December 1914, where most German ships sunk, the Dresden hid for months. In this time, the Dresden was also attacking British ships. Nevertheless, the German light cruiser was scuttled off on the 14th of March 1915 in Chile, where Canaris was then interned with the other crew members. However, he escaped, and after he reached Hamburg on the 4th of October 1915, Canaris reported to other duties shortly afterwards. The German Admiralty gave him submarine training and another mission. Under deep cover in Spain, he organized coal and food for German U-boats operating in the Western Mediterranean, steering an ever thicker web of agents through cafes, consulates, and ports. During the war, French counterintelligence arrested him once, but he vanished from custody and returned by U-boat. In 1918, he commanded submarine UB-128, and the armistice from the 11th of November 1918 reached him at sea. The German Empire had lost the war, and the new democratic Germany was created to Canaris's disgust. Germany's defeat triggered social unrest and revolution. Back in Berlin, Canaris linked up with right-wing Freikorps units that fought communist uprisings. He helped free officers accused of murdering socialist leaders Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht, an action the left-wing press would use against him for years. In 1919, he married Erika Waag, a daughter of a steel magnate. Their marriage produced 2 daughters, Eva and Brigitte. Despite limitations of the Versailles Treaty, which limited the strength of the German Navy, his Navy career flourished. In June 1923, Canaris became first officer on the small cruiser Berlin under the command of Wilfried von Löwenfeld. On board the Berlin, he met the naval cadet Reinhard Heydrich, who was on board the ship from July 1923 to March 1924. Canaris had a soft spot for loners, and he took a liking to Heydrich, who was unpopular with other Marines due to his arrogant and self-important demeanor. Soon Heydrich was spending a lot of time at Canaris' house, making music with Erika Canaris, while Canaris cooked. Throughout the 1920s, Canaris handled covert arms deals barred by the Treaty of Versailles, built spy rings in Spain, Argentina, and Brazil, and maintained contacts with nationalist veterans bitter toward the young Weimar Republic. On the 30th of January 1933, Adolf Hitler became German Chancellor, promising to rebuild German arms and honor. Many officers, including Canaris, applauded. 2 years later, on the 2nd of January 1935, he was appointed as head of Germany's secret military intelligence, the Abwehr, and in May 1935, Canaris became a rear admiral. His task was wide: collect intelligence abroad, shield rearmament at home, and his goal was also to stay ahead of the Nazi secret police, the Gestapo. He expanded the service, hiring linguists, mountaineers, bankers, scholars, and keen youngsters. Interestingly, his old protégé Heydrich now ran the Gestapo and the SD, which was the intelligence agency of the SS and the Nazi Party. The two intelligence officers dined politely, and their gardens in suburban Schlachtensee in Berlin even touched. During the visits, Heydrich played first violin and Erika Canaris second violin in a string quartet. Heydrich's wife Lena listened, while Canaris was usually absent or cooking. Despite this special relationship, each planted informers inside the other's offices. While Heydrich called Canaris that wily old fox, Canaris labeled Heydrich a brutal fanatic. When General Francisco Franco rebelled against Spain's republic in July 1936, Franco begged Berlin for help crossing his army from Morocco to the Spanish mainland, as the crews of the Spanish ships remained loyal to the democratic government. Canaris urged Adolf Hitler and Hermann Göring to send German transport planes. The airlift succeeded, and Francists fought against the Spanish government. German air forces fought in Spain, and Canaris visited often, smoothing quarrels between proud Spaniards and overeager German officers. Though at the end of the day Canaris was shocked by the bombing of Guernica in April 1937, still, in public he defended support for Franco as a blow against Bolshevism. In 1937, at the request of Canaris to Heinrich Himmler, the leader of the SS, some officers of the Abwehr and selected officers of the High Command of the German Armed Forces, the Wehrmacht, visited Sachsenhausen concentration camp. They were welcomed by Theodor Eicke, the inspector of the concentration camps. The visitors saw, among other things, prisoners who had just been whipped to welcome them. The camp commandant and other SS leaders gave Frank information about further torture. According to the visitor Friedrich Wilhelm Heinz, Canaris wanted to show the participants the inhumanity of the Nazis. By 1937 at the latest, Canaris seems to have increasingly turned his back on Hitler and National Socialism. In autumn 1937, Canaris was saying, "From top to bottom, they were all criminals who were ruining Germany." When asked how Canaris could then remain head of the Abwehr, Canaris replied, "It has become my fate. If I go, Heydrich will come, and then everything will be lost. I have to sacrifice myself." Ever since they seized power in Germany, the Nazis were trying to take control of the army, and it came in very useful when it turned out that Defense Minister Werner von Blomberg had married a prostitute. In January 1938, von Blomberg was forced to resign from his position after revelations about his wife's past, leading to concerns about his judgment. Around the same time, Werner von Fritsch, commander-in-chief of the German army, was falsely accused of engaging in homosexual activities. In February 1938, he was also forced to resign, but Canaris and other military officers were appalled at the mistreatment of Fritsch and were eventually successful in proving his innocence. After Werner von Blomberg and Werner von Fritsch were removed from their positions, Hitler consolidated military and political power in his hands. Despite how Canaris saw Hitler using scandal to purge critics of the Nazi regime, he still willingly helped them, and in February 1938 he directed deception against Austria. However, a few months later he warned French and British politicians that Hitler planned to crush Czechoslovakia. Through emissary Ewald von Kleist-Schmentzin, he tried to alert Britain that only firm resolve, not appeasement, could stop war. The Munich Agreement of the 30th of September 1938, in which Czechoslovakia lost a large part of its territory, buried those hopes and for a time any plans to put Hitler down, as the Nazis were at the height of their popularity among German citizens. In the summer of 1939, Hitler set upon Poland. On the 22nd of August 1939, he summoned senior officers, Canaris among them, and spoke brutally of wiping out the Polish state. Despite orders not to take notes, Canaris wrote comments on his pad and later passed it to resistance contacts who leaked a summary to British diplomats. When the invasion began on the 1st of September, he toured the front, saw Warsaw aflame, and read Abwehr reports of Einsatzgruppen massacres of the civilian population. On the 14th of September 1939, he challenged Wilhelm Keitel, saying, "I drew Generaloberst Keitel's attention to the fact that I had been informed that extensive shootings were planned in Poland and that the nobility and clergy in particular were to be exterminated. After all, the world would hold the Wehrmacht responsible for these methods, under whose eyes these things were happening." In autumn 1940, Hitler conceived Operation Felix, a strike through Spain to seize Gibraltar and choke Britain's Mediterranean lifeline. Fluent in Spanish and respected by Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, Canaris was ordered to win Spanish support in the war. Instead, he wrote a detailed memo arguing why Operation Felix would fail and quietly advised Franco that Hitler lacked forces to occupy Spain. When Hitler met Franco at the French town of Uday on the 23rd of October 1940, the Spanish leader refused to give passage to German units. Hitler later told the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini that he would rather have 3 teeth pulled than meet Franco again. Canaris also used Abwehr papers to help victims of Nazi persecution escape. 500 Jews received papers as agents and were sent to South America. However, the Abwehr, which Canaris commanded, participated in the Nazi regime's atrocities against the Jewish population. Despite small acts of mercy, the system around Canaris grew more murderous, and his duel with the SS intensified. In February 1944, Himmler convinced Hitler that the Abwehr was riddled with traitors. Adolf Hitler abolished the Abwehr and dismissed Canaris, who was under house arrest. He was released in June 1944 to take up a post in Berlin as the head of a unit which coordinated the resistance to the Allied economic blockade of Germany. Meanwhile, Oberst Klaus von Stauffenberg decided assassination was the only way to end the rule of Adolf Hitler over Germany. Canaris, though informed by former subordinates, neither joined nor denounced the plan. When Stauffenberg's plan failed, the Gestapo arrested thousands. On the 23rd of July 1944, Canaris was drinking afternoon coffee with friends when SS officers led by Walter Schellenberg arrived and arrested him. Shortly afterwards, Canaris was transferred to the prison, where he was housed in a cell measuring 1.5 by 2.5 meters and had no access to the yard. Contact with other prisoners was forbidden. Conversation was only possible in the morning, when he was showering. While other prisoners received visitors and food parcels, Canaris lacked both and was only given starvation rations. On the 5th of April 1945, Canaris was moved to Flossenbürg concentration camp. 3 days later, he was convicted of high treason. In the grey morning hours on the 9th of April 1945, just 1 month before the end of the war in Europe, gallows were erected hastily in the courtyard of Flossenbürg. Wilhelm Canaris, then 58 years old, was ordered to remove his clothing and was led to the gallows naked. After he knelt for the last time to pray, By Hitler's direct orders, he was hanged with a meat hook and a thin hemp rope, which the people called a piano wire. In some cases, this barbaric method of execution caused the death struggle to last for 20 minutes. After Canaris died, his corpse was left to rot, then cremated, and the ashes scattered. Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.